Hello, Aaron.
Hey Rick, how are you? Here we are again.
Here we are again, and we're going to do three videos, two games. And
Yep.
I have to commend you. You always send in your losses because you learn more from losses. I have a series on my YouTube channel on viewers' games, and some people just want to showcase their great wins, but you always want to go over your losses. So we do that, and then we do some
Yes,
tactics in the third video.
thank you.
Okay, the first game we're going to look at was played on the 6th of April 2025. As we're recording this, it's the 15th of April. So it's played 9 days ago. You had the black pieces. You had a rating of 1120 at the time, and your opponent was Tsu Kaidi with a rating of 1126. And let's see what happened. Your opponent opened with the E pawn, and you always play the classical E5, getting a foothold in the center. Knight f3 attacking the pawn, and you protect it, and bishop c4. And we toyed around a little bit when you played knight f6. Then it was knight g5. You get a lot of pressure on the f7 square. And I gave you a little antidote against that, the Hungarian opening, bishop e7. And that's what you play here, because if
Yep.
they now play knight g5, you just take it off. And then you can play knight f6 and castle, and you don't have that nonsense going on f7. So that's
Yep.
a good way to avoid that. And your opponent, well, wasn't thinking. He probably always plays bishop c4, knight g5. And on move 4, he blunders a piece.
Yeah.
And even at the 1100 level, people are still doing this. And you say, thank you very much. I'm going to take your knights. So you're piece up after
Good.
4 moves.
Brilliant.
d4. And I guess, as we always talk about, when your material ahead, it's good to trade down. So why not take on c1? Queen takes, and now you play knight g to e7. That's a good
Oh,
developing move. You could have gone to f6, of course, as well. But is there something else you could play here? I
yeah.
always talk about take your opponent's stuff.
Knight to d4.
Yeah, why not grab that pawn? It's a central pawn. I know you play with the same piece twice in the opening, but if you can grab a central pawn, then it's well worth doing it. It's not that you're going to be checkmated anytime soon. He only has one piece in the game. So yeah, I
Yeah.
would say take it. You could take it with a pawn as well, of course, but I would take it with the knight. Winning is another central pawn. But okay, nothing wrong with knight g to e7, of course. Developing move, queen g5. He he wants to attack, but it doesn't look very impressive. And he's attacking g7, of course, but I guess maybe a year ago you would have played g6 or something, but now you just castle. Get your king in the corner and protect the g7 pawn that way.
Yeah.
Of course, he can take on e5. That pawn is now, it was attacked twice and only defended once. And here you play knight d4. I guess you had your eye on the c2 pawn with a nice fork,
Yeah.
but I'm looking for a better move.
So I'm looking at the bishop on c8.
Uh-huh.
So do we play pawn on d7 to d5? No, there's the en passant.
Well,
But
okay, let's calculate that. d5, and then he takes en passant, and then I'm not putting it on the board.
and then I take the bishop, then he takes my knight.
Hang on. So you played d7, d5. He takes en passant. Where are the pieces then?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, then my pawn's gone. And
Your
then
pawn's gone. So black to play. There's a pawn then on d6, right? A white pawn on d6, and your pawn on
oh
d5
yeah,
is gone.
there's a
So what does
white
black
I
play?
can c7 to d6.
Yeah, that gives you an isolated pawn. Is there another way you can take that pawn on d6?
Um
So we have
d6.
d7,
So,
d5. Yeah, sorry.
so if I move D7 to D5, and the
Yeah,
E5 pawn takes, ending up on D6.
yeah,
How can I best take that pawn? Well, I can
oh,
take it with C7, as we've said.
yeah,
Oh yeah, then I can take it with the queen.
yeah. So stake with the queen. They keep your pawns nicely straight together. So we looked at this line, D7, D5, attacking the bishop, and he can take en passant like this. But then you can just take with the queen, and your bishop is now happy, and you've swapped another pair of pawns, and you're just cruising with your extra piece. So
Yeah,
I like the D.
calculation is tough. I can't do it if I'm honest with you. Like I only do it now because you're here to support me, and I'm really trying hard. But it's just a tough I find.
Well, calculation is tough, but it is, it's a crucial part of chess. Calculation is really important. So if you say you cannot do it, well, tough, yeah, you have to do it. Uh,
Yeah.
and you're probably better than you think. And this was a tough visualization, D5 and then en passant. By the way, if he doesn't have to take en passant, he can also, if you play D5, he can also take with the other e pawn. E4 takes D5. Do you see that?
Yes.
What do you do?
Yes.
What do you play then?
Can I take with the knight on E7,
Knight
and then
E7 takes D5. Yeah,
and then if the bishop takes, then obviously I got um another attacker being the queen.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, that is also true. So that's another line you have to calculate. So E4 takes D5. And then you can take indeed with the knight, and it's protected by the queen. So if he takes on, what if he takes on D8 in this position? Queen takes D8.
I take back with the rook on F8, doing the same thing as the queen.
Yeah, and still your knight is protected. So that's that is something you have to see here. But yeah, that will still keep your knight protected. So that's also good. So
What's pretty
D
cool, just going back to that position there a second ago. Again,
uh,
just talking.
this one, yeah.
Yeah. If knight on C6 takes E5, and then if the queen takes back, then I move the rook to E8.
Uh-huh. With a
Because I
nice little
remember a
skewer.
video. Yeah, I remember a video where you said you could just castle here because you're in line. And
Yeah,
I won a queen the other day with that because I'd
yeah.
seen the pattern before.
Exactly. Yeah, so knight takes c5 is a threat here for black. Exactly. Yeah, because that is white cannot recapture. So that's again shows how important it is to castle. Well, good that you saw that. That's a nice little tactical motif indeed. Okay, so this is well within your grasp. I only had to ask you one question, and you straight away talked about the bishop on c8. The famous talk to your pieces. The bishop is screaming at you, can I please be part of this game? And then d5 or even d6 is a better move than knight d4. That is just playing for tricks. And it's not a
Yeah,
bad move. It's not that suddenly you're lost or anything. You're still a piece up. But your bishop, you want to make your pieces happy. Okay,
thank
he
you.
sees that the threat on c2, so he plays bishop d3. And you kick the queen. Nothing wrong with that. Queen goes back, attacking the knight. So you save your knight. You bring your knight back to e6 as a nice square. He castles. And here you play c5. And I've highlighted the bishop. You know what I'm going to say?
Mm,
The bishop is still
yeah,
unhappy and says, why on earth do you play the c pawn and not something to get the pawn developed? So d5 is still possible here.
yeah,
At least the bishop will have some potential. So that's definitely, once you're 1200 and you want to, I hope you'll go for 1300. Now then it starts to become more and more important that you make sure you play with all your pieces. You make your own life so much easier if you play with all your pieces.
yeah, 100%.
Okay, so that's an important one. So the title of this video will be Play with all your pieces. Um,
Yeah,
you play c5, he played f4, you played b6. Yeah, now, and the bishop can then go to b7. Of course, he has a bit of a. I highlighted f5, f6 there as a plan. He has bit of an attack there against your king. Lots of pawns, and the bishop and the queen and the rook are behind us. Having said that, this guy is still at home. That means that this guy cannot come into the attack. But yeah, f5 maybe is a move here for him to try, but he develops first,
Yeah.
and you play this one. a5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see the point of that move.
I don't know if I'm trying to go full C8 to A6 and
Ah,
then
yeah.
try and swap the pieces.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you did on the next move. Okay, so that's the point of that move. Yeah, yeah, no, you're right. Okay. Yeah, well, I can't argue with that. Swapping pieces when you're a piece up is a good idea. Let's see what happened. Bishop e2, and indeed bishop a6 as planned, because now it's protected by the rook, and that's why you play the a pawn up. Knight b5. Well, you want to swap pieces, make your life easier. So very practical chess. It might not be the best move in the position, but it's definitely the more
Yeah.
pieces come off, the easier it will be for you because you have an extra piece. Bishop takes, and knight d4. Nice central square,
Nice.
and
See,
attacking the
look,
bishop.
Rick, I'm a piece up. What
Yep,
could surely nothing can go wrong here, surely?
surely nothing can go wrong. A big smile on your face. Bishop d3,
Yeah.
that bishop was hanging on b5. Rook c8, rook
Here we go.
f2, and oh yeah, you played a bit of a dangerous one, f5. There's a maybe this is one thing I haven't told you about yet. When somebody he's clearly his only hope is to attack on the queen side, on the king side, sorry, on the left hand side of the board as we look at it.
Yeah.
Um, when somebody's attacking you, even though he's not really fully attacking you, um, the general rule of thumb is to not make any pawn moves on the side that you're being attacked at, because you give your opponent some hooks.
Right.
So from a general point of view, f5 is not the first move that should come to mind. Um, and what does come to mind is a move like d6, attacking his center a little bit. Try to get some swaps going there, and then sit on your extra piece.
Yeah.
It's not a disaster. F5 is not a blunder, but it's something to remember. Don't make too
I
many
think what
pawn.
I'm trying to do, is if he takes back with the E4 pawn, I'm going to get that knight on E7 into F5,
Yeah,
attacking the queen, getting it into the game.
yeah,
I just went with that really. And I thought that the file's going to be semi-open.
yeah.
There's loads of opportunities. That's how I thought really.
Yeah, well, it's fine. Your piece up. I'm not criticizing the move. Probably not the most logical one, but just try to remember next time you're being attacked and you want to make a pawn move on the side that you're attacked, maybe sit on your hands before doing that. That's a good rule of thumb to
Yeah,
remember.
yeah.
And of course, another option you have to calculate here is because he can take en passant again, right? You have to make sure you have that is not
Oh yeah,
a problem. It isn't because you just take back with if he takes en passant, you just take back with the rook, and
yeah,
things are fine. Okay, f5 was played, rook d1, and you decide to take on e4. Queen takes. There's a bit of a, it's not checkmate, but there's a bit of a battery there.
yeah,
And now you play d5. Okay. Uh, Again, you have to calculate en passant here if it works. But he decides to give a check, and your king has to go in the open a bit.
oh,
It's not, you have so many, those knights are doing a great job, and it's not that has a devastating attack, but again, this knight is very importantly taking this square away from the queen. And here you play c4, and he has overlooked something. Maybe you found a move here, then you found a tactic. Do you remember what you played here? It's a blunder c4.
right. Let me think. Um, Any checks? No. Uh, any captures? I've got to start forcing myself to do this. To do this. Has he trapped his queen?
Yes, he did.
Remember,
So how do you trap the queen?
Conga there, Conga there. Is it rook to h8?
Rook h8, and it was played. Well done.
Yes. You know, little
Trapping
things
the
like that, Rick. Little percentages in my favour work. So I'm a piece up. I've trapped the queen. Surely nothing can go wrong here.
nothing can go wrong. Exactly. So his queen is trapped. He plays e6. Well,
And Rick, I noticed this as well. Like I wouldn't have noticed it before, but we did a video called "Checkmating the Queen," and this is where it's come into play here.
yeah, the queen is checkmated indeed. Yeah. So he tries to muddy the waters with e6. I guess you could have taken it with the knight. Knight takes e6 as possible, but you play
Can,
king f6
can I ask,
instead.
sorry, a minute ago you said, "Can you notice the blunder?" So what had led to that then? So what did he do that led to that?
Yeah, in this, so he has. Hang on, let me take this arrow away. He played queen h7 check, king f7, king f7, and he has.
Sorry.
So this was your last move, d5. This was your last move,
Yeah.
attacking the queen, so taking that square away. Then he plays queen a7 check, and he should have recognized that there's no way back. All the squares on the way back are now occupied by, are covered by black.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, he doesn't do anything about it. You play king f7, he plays c4, and that doesn't help the queen regain. Probably should have played his bishop away or something to create a square for the queen. He just didn't see that his queen had no squares. It's unusual. It's very unusual, of course, that the queen has no squares because the queen is so powerful. But yeah,
Yeah.
you spotted a tactic. E6, king f6, and he gives his queen for the rook. Queen takes, and now your whole box of pieces up. C takes d5,
Okay.
and I guess you can just recapture, right?
Yeah.
You didn't do that. You play c4, attacking the
Okay.
bishop. Bishop drop back, and now you're. Why did I highlight the knight? Because it is now unprotected. With the bishop moving away, the knight is now hanging. But you didn't spot that. You played rook d8, and that gives up a piece. That's a bit of a pity, but you're still a queen for a rook up, so still things are fine. But it's a pity to give away a piece.
Yeah.
But you take that pawn. He takes your pawn, and you said material up. I'm going to get more pieces off.
Nice.
Either that or you see a check and give a check. I still see that you do that quite a bit in your games, and we have to stop doing that, Aaron, giving checks just because we see one. Rook f1, and pair of rooks come off, and knight f5. So
Good.
this move 30, we're going to move 68, so we're going to pick up the pace a little bit.
There's a
I
fork
guess,
here with the knight over. Knight e3, if I was to get it.
yeah, that is a nice fork. Yeah, exactly. I guess instead of knight f5, you could also just have taken this pawn, and because that pawn is going to cost you
Yeah.
at the end. Just grab that far advanced pawn, and it really has nothing to play for now. Because of knight f5, he played rook e4 to deal with the fork and also keep this pawn alive.
Yeah.
H5. Yeah, here I highlighted the queen because now you make a series of moves. This is move 31, and you refuse to move your queen. This queen is, or no, your strongest piece is in the most horrible square on the board. It's not doing anything there. So instead of a
Yeah.
move like h5, again, when you talk to your pieces, the queen says, hello, can I be I'm a very strong piece. Can I be, please, on a more active square? Because
Where
h8
would
is
you
just
put it?
horrific. Sorry?
Where would you put it? Do you think like D
Oh,
D8 somewhere like that?
d8, c8, you threaten then queen d1 maybe. Well, maybe not because he can interpose the rook, but yeah, anywhere really apart from h8. It's not doing anything
I
there.
think I think I'm keeping it there so the eighth rank in case the pawn maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, Well, if you want to, you know, and the queen is too strong to do only that task. If you want to block the pawn, you could put the king in front of it, for example. But the queen needs to roam around. Uh,
Yeah,
Using a queen just to control a pawn, that's not a great job for the queen, you know,
yeah, of course.
because it takes a while before you move the queen, as we'll see. You played h5, rook e5, and you played h4, and that just gives away another piece. Rook takes f5 check. It's protected by the
Oh,
bishop, so you start giving stuff away. You take the e-pawn now, that's good. Rook e5 check, king f6, a bit of a move repetition. But now it's already a bit more difficult, you know. You have queen for rook and bishop, and the win is not so easy anymore because you have really given away two pieces in the last handful of moves. And rook back. And still you don't develop your queen. You play h3. So I keep highlighting the queen. So also in the, well, this is really an end game now. You still want to talk to your pieces. You still want to make sure they're happy. And if they're not in
yeah,
an active position, you have to do something about that instead of pushing that h-pawn. Make sense?
yeah, cool. Yeah,
Okay. Well, he likes to give checks. That's, I guess, what players of that 1100 level do. He sees checks and he gives checks without achieving a lot, but he keeps giving the checks. And
oh,
now that's not a check. And here he has a threat now. What is if it's white to play? What can he do?
rook a8.
Yeah, and that wins the queen. So yeah, first play take on g2. That's
There, I
check.
think I noticed it.
Yeah, and now you notice it and play queen h5. Okay,
There,
not only you dealing with the skewer, but also getting the queen more active. And you see immediately you get the reward because after rook takes g7, you have
e2.
the double attack.
Yes.
See
Come on,
that
Rick.
queen?
Here we are now. Putting everything that we've learned over the past 17 years to play.
Yeah, but you see, you made one queen move to activate your queen, and straight away there was a tactic.
Yeah, yeah.
While it was in the corner, those tactics weren't there because it was an unhappy piece. Happy pieces uh, make your life so much easier. Suddenly there's a tactic.
I, I definitely saw the threat with Rook on A8. I saw that skew at 100%. And I
Yeah,
thought, damn, got to get out of harm's way. And I did it. So I'm really happy with that. I can't be keeping the queen on the bench, that's for sure.
exactly.
But getting into play, yeah,
Yeah, on the bench. That's a good way to say it. I when I steal your expression there, don't leave the queen on the bench. She's way too powerful for that. Okay, and
yeah.
king h3. Thank you very much. And now black is winning again.
Cracking
Queen
again.
versus rook.
Yeah.
But he has one trump card left. That's the f pawn. He gives a check because he likes to give checks. And rook g4 to keep his pawn alive. He also likes checks, but that wins you another pawn. But now the f pawn goes, and that's rook and the king is very close to the pawn. This is not so easy. That rook pawn king is not so easy to stop, as we'll see.
Rick, I've learned that the hard way, mate. Like you see a queen on the board, you think happy days, piece up, queen up, nearly got my queen taken, haven't, double attack back in the game. You said that, bishop and rook, it's not so easy, but now I've evened the odds a bit better. And
Yeah,
I feel like I'm losing here. I'm a queen up, but I'm losing. So, a grandmaster, or even yourself, would you look at this position and would you go, oh, or would you say, hey, queen up, happy days? What do you think? How do you assess this?
yeah. Here I would say, well, black must be winning because of his use material advantage. You still have these two guys. If you had no pawns left, then it's probably a draw. But there must be a way to get those rolling. But I would be worried about the f pawn. Rook, especially because the white king is so close to the pawn and can hide behind it. If that f pawn goes any further, I would start to get worried. Um, but it's clear that black is winning,
But
especially because
how
he
do
has
you
those.
you'll probably go over this in a second, but I really want to know how best practice do you tackle this?
Well, let's see. Let's go over it. I would say it's crucial to. It's a pity that your king is far away. If your king was here, I would have no. I would not be worried anymore, because then the pawn will not go anywhere. But your king is far away, and when the start, I would be a bit worried about this. Um,
So should I have, when the F pawn's moving, should I have, you know, the signal in my brain? Should I have moved the king already?
let's look at a
Centralize the
line.
king.
Let's play a move. King d6 to bring the king
But
closer.
I
Let's
mean
say,
before this, Rick. I mean, like,
oh
when it moved from F, yeah, should I have gone, okay, start the king?
yeah, that is a safe plan. Exactly. Get the king to the as close to the f file as possible. That is a very safe plan instead of going pawn hunting. But at
Yeah,
the same time, it's also nice to take those pawns off, because then your own pawns can start rolling. It's it is really calculation. It's trying to calculate. The safe way is to get your king closer, but if you can go pawn hunting first, and if you then assess that that pawn is not dangerous straight away, then that's also something to be called for. But it's not so easy to answer, give a very clear answer on that. The safe ways to bring your king closer. An easier win might be if you go pawn grabbing first. Let's see what happens. Uh, you decided to give checks here, and this is a bad check. Queen d6 check asks him to put
yeah.
his pawn
Help
one
him.
further. You know, um, you're not queen d6 check only helps your opponent, and now and it becomes more and more difficult. That the further that pawn is, the more difficult it is. So it's a good example of not why not giving checks is not always the right thing. Queen d3 check also helps him, because now his king on g is on g7. Um,
Oh,
Having said that, there's always tactics, because king g7 is actually a big blunder.
oh yeah. Queen D7.
Queen d7, and even though it looks like he's doing really well, he's losing his rook, and then you still have to worry a little bit about the f pawn, but not really. Without the rook, that
Yeah, I
f
could
pawn is
even.
not as powerful.
If I took the rook off, could my queen have taken F6? Let's say, well, the F pawn. Do you reckon eventually I could say, you know what, sacrifice it?
Yeah, well then you have to look at the line, the concrete line. So let's look at the concrete line. He plays that one. You take the rook. He plays f7,
I play F5.
queen f5. He plays king
He
e8.
plays. Let's say I take with queen F7.
Yeah. How do you assess that?
Honest answer is I don't. I just know that I can't afford. Or do I continue to keep moving my pawns, and then as soon as he promotes, I take.
Yeah, you definitely, if you want to sacrifice your queen, don't do it yet, because that pawn, he has to spend a move to promote, and he can always take it then. But taking it now, this guy supported by the king is very quick.
Yeah.
As they say, one runs faster than two, because you have to push both of those to make a pass upon yourself. So I sacrificing here is not good. It takes black is still winning here, but you have to play very accurately, combining with queen and king. Um, then you're still winning. But I
Should I have
suggest,
pushed?
yeah,
Go on, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Should I have pushed A and B earlier on?
Like in what position? Where? Somewhere
Middle
here?
game, start pushing. Yeah, like just here, yeah, just start pushing the pawns.
Yeah, the only problem here is that he still has two as well. But I guess here, after you take on b2, f5, yeah, you can now think of start pushing your pawn. Um, yeah, that's definitely a plan. it's
I just find in my games, Rick, like, look, I've won a piece. Okay, even if I didn't win the piece due to his blunder, I've tactically, well, he's blundered again, but when he blundered the knight, it was just free piece, so I haven't really done a lot. But with the queen, I've actually worked out. I know he helped me a bit, but I trapped the queen, so I'm a queen up, and I'm winning. And then out of nowhere, you're having palpitations because the bloody pawn's nearly at promotion, and you're thinking it's like a magic trick. It's like sleight of hand. One minute you're there kicking ass, whoa, Next minute you got a pawn, and it's not. Now you lose it. How am I losing this? I'll never know. I do
yeah.
know, but you get what I mean, like.
I do know. Let's see what happens. Queen f3. So you had the fork here, Queen d7 check. You played Queen f3, attacking the rook. Rook g6. The nice and compact, those three pieces, they're really dangerous. King d7. Now you bring your king closer, but it's a little bit
Okay,
late. f7, king e7,
okay.
and rook e6 check. And I'd say, can you take it? You didn't take it. Do you? You get this. King takes e6, queen, and then if you swap the queens, then you push b5, and you're winning because the king can control this guy, and you make a pass pawn on the queen side.
I feel like shouting at the bloody mirror.
But you're in fairness to you, you're very low on time here. This is the game where you almost had no time left.
Can I
Um,
have that in writing, Rick? No.
say again.
Can I have that in writing? What you just said?
Well, it is on YouTube, so it's there for eternity. Uh,
Oh yeah, I was low on time.
King d7, rook e8, queen g4 check. You give checks, and you go for that one. Check. He gives a check,
Was it draw?
and I guess you lost on time here. Well, is that what you did? Oh no, it was a draw. It was not even a loss. Sorry. I have to rectify what I said at the start of the video. This was a draw because of move repetition. Yeah. Yeah,
What can I
it is
say?
not so easy anymore with that pawn on the seventh. That is worth a lot.
Same really. I think. Look, I had an okay open. I took on board what you said with the was it the Hungarian Open you said?
Yeah,
So I'm definitely implementing what you said. I won a piece because of it. Um, Blundered a piece up. Could have took a couple of pawns. Okay, fair enough. Not the end of the world. Won a queen. Um, I think the thing is, Rick, I ain't sunk in that the king is an important piece of the endgame. It hasn't registered that you need to be taking the king. If I can centralize the king, attack pawns, push past pawns, I think I'll be in a better place.
yeah. The, they say the king in the end game is almost as strong as a rook, and that is a very strong piece. So, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I could have took the rook. It's so sort of overwhelming with how many combinations and things that can happen. Could have took the rook. Could have done a double attack. Don't know how I missed it, man.
Yeah. Well, people miss tactics all the time, and you were
Yeah.
very low on time. So, in with very few little time on the clock, we all look very very silly at times. So,
I
this
told you I was a changed man, Rick, with the low on time.
yeah. Well, I this was an exception because I've seen other games where you had half, as in the next game we're going to watch, you had half your time left when the game finished.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
more
only
than
joking.
yeah, I know. Anything else on this game, Aran?
Okay. No, thank you. Very instructive, though.